Um, I would say my most unhinged moment where life went off the rails was during the quarantine and everybody being at home. That drove me batty. Everyone was like baking
Hmm.
bread, which is like that is my Achilles heel. And I was like, are you trying to make me fatter than I already am? And I lost it, and I ended up building like three gardens and protest against the bread and pizzas and waffles and French toast that they were making every day.
We are Moms Unhinged, a nationally touring stand-up comedy show. Join us in our podcast as we explore everything from motherhood, midlife crisis, marriage, divorce, online dating, menopause, and other things that irritate us. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moms Unhinged, the podcast. I am here with the fantastic, the lovely Tiffany Burke. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you for having me, Andrea. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, super fun, super fun. And Tiffany is one of our Atlanta-based comedians, and you were just doing some shows in Mississippi and Alabama last week.
Yes, on top of those, one of many shows I did last week. But yes, it was a pleasure. I actually got to spend some great time with two of my favorite comedians, also from Atlanta, Amanda Marks and Amy Brown. So it was the best girls' road trip ever.
Awesome. So tell us about, you've got two kids, right? Two?
Two boys, 21 and 12. I love my
Yeah.
sons. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Love my sons. They're the best. The gap, it's been great. I love the 9 year gap.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
my
sure you
happy
get lots of
place
questions about the gap, right?
all the time, all the time, all the time. People are like,
Yeah.
what was I was like, yeah, no, he tricked me. I wasn't planning on it. I thought I was done.
Yeah. Well, you just never know. That's the thing is about any of this. Like, it's just sometimes we can plan all we want and it doesn't matter.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm really helping perimenopause is kind to me, or I even get it. Like my doctor was like, "Oh, you're not perimenopause. You're very fertile. You could still." She was like, "You got like a good 15 more years," and I was like,
Oh,
60? No, ma'am. I don't think we
oh,
should be doing that. Like,
oh,
no. So,
oh boy. Yeah, I had a friend who had a baby at 43. She was like, I thought we were done. And even also one of our comedians had one. She's like, yeah, I don't, Janae Burris, yeah, it's too wild. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in comedy. What did that look like?
so for me, I own a management consulting company, and I started that now about 14 years ago. And one of my business partners convinced me to I was doing Toastmasters first to get comfortable with talking to delegates and talking to senators and whatnot. And I hated Toastmasters. I thought it was horrible. It was the worst. I didn't like it. And so I loathed Toastmasters. And my business partner convinced me to take an improv class. And during my first improv class afterwards, my teacher pulled me to the side and he was like, look, I don't know what you do for your day-to-day life. And he's a successful actor. He's on HBO. He's like on all these awesome things. He does comedic acting. But he pulled me to the side. He was like, I don't know what you do for your day-to-day life, but I need you to know that you're a comedic actress and this is what you should be doing. He was like, this is your gift. And I really felt that way the first time I hit the stage. Like I loved it. It was just yes and was so easy for me. And so I did that I've been continuously doing it for 14 years now. But about 7 years into that, I was with a team and we would host shows and I produced shows. So I would hire a lot of comedians to be the in between in our improv shows. And the more I started meeting the comedians, after our show, they would come up to me and be like, why are you with these losers? Why aren't you doing stand up? And so I took Lace Larrabee's female comedy class. I was like in her first or second class she has now. She's had like a ridiculous amount of classes. But I took her class so that I could learn how to write jokes. And after that, I've been booked since. I think this is like my 8th year in comedy, doing professional stand up, and I don't think I can imagine my life without it. Yeah, I don't know what that would look like, but it's the best decision I ever made in my life.
Oh, that's so awesome. So awesome. I love that. I love that. And it's so great because so many of our comedians have started with the class. And it is like I don't think people understand how important writing is to stand up comedy. They think, oh, I'm funny with my friends and I just like, they laugh at me, so I should do it. But writing is so key to stand up comedy and, having a tight set and everything. So.
To me, that was my biggest. I knew I was already a naturally funny person. Like that's something I've been told my whole life. But I respect art and I'm a big student of life. So if there's something that I want to do, I very much like to take I love class. So like I'm a super nerd. I'm a class taker. If there's a class online that you can get for free, if it's an e-class, like any of the classes, I'm signing up for them. I'm taking them. So yeah, like and I like to write. I like to write. I like to tell stories. And I just I love the art of comedy, but I love the structure that comes along with that. And I think a lot of, even with painting or any type of art, yes, it's art, but there's lessons to it. There's a structure. And so I wanted to respect that art and I wanted to do it good. So I took the class and it stayed with me. I've taken tons of comedic writing classes since then. I'm always one of those people every year I take a class or a skill to hone my skills to improve what I'm already doing in comedy so that I can just be more of a well-rounded comedian. I like to do a lot of sketch comedy. As you know, I make a lot
Yeah.
of sketches. I like to also do a lot of stand-up. I love improv. Like anything that's comedic, like I want to be there and in that frame. So
That's fun. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I did improv as well, and we were talking about that before. It's just, and those are all two different, completely different skills. People get them mixed up, but I'm like, oh no, they're so different.
so different.
I mean, they can definitely inform each other, but yeah, for sure. Now, we were talking a little bit about before we got started, just like kind of the grief that you've been going through as a mom and as a woman and just in your life lately, just loss. And, I think that is something that we don't talk about enough as moms and as women, especially because a lot of times we just have to keep pushing through. So what have your losses been about and how have you dealt with that?
So for me, it's been a couple of different. It's been losing people. It's also been losing business. I say over the last 5 years, and probably a lot of people in America, people in the world, period. You know, as a world, all experienced the quarantine and the pandemic, and we lost a lot of people. And I'm a Cancer, so I'm a super empathetic person. Like I feel the feels. I've lost both of my grandparents, my last existing grandparents during that time period. So my grandpa died at the end of 2019, and then my grandmother died exactly 6 months to the day that he died. And then after that, I lost a whole bunch of cousins. I lost friends. I've lost so many friends. I've lost a lot of comedy friends and people that I grew up with. So it's just been like back to back to back to back. And then at the top of the year, thanks to the new administration, I'm a woman owned, a minority owned business because so due to DEI, I've lost a whole bunch of contracts. And then with the big bill, I lost another set of contracts. And I think people forget that business and those type of things are another form of grief. Losing that is just like losing a baby or,
Yeah.
or losing like, another part of your family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's been very important for me to honor those people. That's a big way on how I handle grief is I like to honor them. I like to acknowledge the people that have passed. So I have literally an ancestor wall of friends and family that I've lost through my life, especially in the last couple of years. And then I like to also acknowledge, what I had as a business owner and give gratitude and thanks for that time period and really sit in the understanding of, this was a period. I got to flourish during this period. I've now lost this period, but also teaching my kids, like, even when we lose, we have to continue to, be in remembrance, be in celebration, take our time to grieve, and then figure out what's next. So I'm in the figuring out what next stage, which has been hard,
Yeah.
but also really rewarding because it's allowed me to tap back
Yeah.
in to what brings me joy and figure out where that is and who
Mhm.
brings it out of me. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it can be such a scary time because, I mean, your job and career is so much of your identity a lot of times. You really identify with what you do as a profession, as a person, and it's hard. It's like when it sort of disappears, it's a little scary. And I think we're in a time now too where, everything is kind of in flux, and
hmm
it's hard to see that, okay, yeah, I'm going to get something else. I'm going to be able to, feed my family, especially as yourself, being a single mom too, that's a huge thing.
and I've noticed for me, what's been great, thank God for comedy. And I say this every day to,
Mm.
other people. I'd be like, if it hadn't been for the tours or for my other shows, like, those things have really kept me afloat. So I'm happy. And that goes back to stepping
Mhm.
out on faith and adding something else in my life that wasn't totally focused around my career and my job. Because I know a lot of people, they
Mhm.
make their career and their job their only thing. And I had decided 8 years ago that, you know, I loved the joy that comedy was bringing me, and I wanted that to be just as essential a part of my life as my job was. And I'm lucky that I had that extra stream of income from that that has really kept me afloat.
Mhm. Yeah, I know, having, and yeah, like you said, not only having the extra added income, but also just the outlet too. Just, I mean, that's huge to be able to, not be feeling just completely adrift, to have that anchor. You go back to that touchstone of comedy and just being able to, Nancy Norton likes to say, play with our pain. So, given the fact that you've had all this loss and this grief and things like that, how do you kind of, how are you able to show your kids that it's okay to, to grieve, to be sad? Are you able to, get through it while still having to be a mom?
I would say, one, my sons know that if I'm in the mood to grieve, I'm going to grieve. I'm not going to not let them see that. I always teach my sons that all emotions are healthy emotions. One, I'm a Cancer. So, we feel the feels. We'll go through all the things. I think that that's what makes us probably the most emotionally. People try to call us crybabies, but we're really not. We're probably some of the most emotionally stable people of the zodiac sign because we actually go through all of the stages and get through it. I
Mhm.
teach my sons that emotions are good, they're healthy for you. You should have an equal amount of happiness and sadness. Like, you can't have one without the other because that's what makes the happy so good. You can't have joy without a little pain.
Hmm.
That's what makes the joy so good. But it's because you understand the low parts.
Yeah.
And if you can't, it can't always be high. Like that's just not life because everything is in cycles. So I make sure that they understand like some days I'm not, it's okay if I'm not the best me, and that's okay. Because tomorrow I might be better. I might be 10 times better. But, they'll know if I'm in a place and I'll let them know. I'm very honest with my emotions. Like, hey, not in a good mood today, not having the best day. So, so you know where my
Hmm.
energy is. Also, how do you feel? And I like to check in with them.
Hmm.
How are you feeling? Are
Hmm.
you okay? What are you thinking about? Because the same a way that it's affecting me, it might be affecting them. And they might not feel comfortable
Yeah.
expressing that. So I want to make sure that I make our house a safe space for their emotions.
That's so good because my boys are like, I'll ask them, I'll be like, all right, just doing a little check. How's everyone doing? How are you doing emotionally? And my boys are like, oh, God, mom. Oh, they just don't want to hear about that. They're like, good, mom.
Exactly. The 12-year-old, he's starting to turn on me a little bit lately. Like I was like, who are you? Because he's going to public school this year. So that's been a transition. But I like to
Uh-huh.
remind him like there's nothing wrong with being emotionally available. There's nothing wrong with being emotionally vulnerable. And your people allow you to hold
Hmm.
space for you, a whole space for those emotions. And I try to teach him to choose
Yeah.
good friends that are open to that.
Yeah, that's so important. So, one of the things I love to ask on this podcast is, do you have an unhinged moment or a crazy time where things went really off the rails? Share that with our listeners.
Uh, Definitely, I would say my most unhinged moment where life went off the rails was during the quarantine and everybody being at home. That drove me batty. Everyone was like baking
Hmm.
bread, which is like that is my Achilles heel. And I was like, are you trying to make me fatter than I already am? And I lost it, and I ended up building like 3 gardens and in protest against the bread and pizzas and waffles and French toast that they were making every day. And they ended up,
Oh, man.
yeah, my garden became punishment for everyone to come work in. And I feel like that was my most unhinged parenting moment. Yeah, I actually, yeah, I instilled physical labor on everyone and made them part of my experiment, which has now actually become my favorite. It's become the favorite thing of everybody else is the garden. Because we have our own collards, we have our own kale, we have our own rosemary, Italian oregano, Greek oregano, just all kinds of herbs, peppers,
Mhm.
cucumbers, you name it. We have it out there. So it was the most unhinged thing that became a healthy,
Yeah.
positive skill.
Yeah, that's fun. It's like, yeah, it's just like, get to work. Get to work, kids.
Exactly. I was like, you don't need to be inside on the Wi-Fi all day long. Everybody does 2 hours outside. Because that power bill during the quarantine was
Oh, man.
ridiculous.
I was eating all the bread. Yeah, I was just eating all the bread. I was just like, let's go, bread. I'm on board. But yeah, we were also walking a lot.
Yeah,
So
I was like, no,
yeah.
this is a setup, and I will not fall for
Yeah.
this. Y'all are
Crazy.
trying to make me fat, and I will not. I got so tired of sourdough. Like I'm focaccia, sourdough. And I was like, why can't anybody make like something delicious like challah bread? If you're gonna give me a bread that I'll binge on. Which I must admit we did. We got these. There was a high end restaurant that had like gone under during the quarantine, and so they gave away. Well, they sold boxes of French croissants. It was the like croissants that they had shipped from France. So I got boxes of those, and that was the one carb that I did, like I was going croissant crazy, but it was the best. It was the best. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely challenging to resist a good
You
croissant.
can't. I mean, French bread
So,
is the only bread that
well, good. No, it's delicious. It's delicious. Well, I have totally loved talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us, Tiffany. Why don't you let our listeners know where they can connect with you?
you can find me online, any of the platforms at The Real Tiffany BA. You can also find me at my website, www.therealtiffanyba.com. Usually I'll have my upcoming shows listed. If you happen to be in Asheville, North Carolina, coming up next week, I will be featuring for Baron Vaughn on Friday at Model City Comedy and then headlining that Sunday as well at Rad Brewing Company. It should be a great time. And then they can always find me on the Moms Unhinged tour.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And depending on when this has come out, just check Tiffany's website for all her upcoming dates because who knows? Well, I'm not exactly sure when this episode's going to come out, but I know you'll have some upcoming dates on your calendar and people can check you out all over
The
the
country.
US. And thanks again, Tiffany, for joining us.
Thank you, Andrea. Always a pleasure
Yeah.
to see you and be here.
Thanks for listening, and make sure you subscribe, share, and follow us on the socials to get more comedy clips.